Katie is gonna lead us today. Katie is Catan's finance chair and has been doing a phenomenal job. And I'm just gonna pass everything on to Katie. So thank you, Katie.
Thank you. Just to give you guys a little bit of a background about me. So I was the one that said, I'm not gonna ever really get involved with Boy Scouts. I'll leave that to my husband. I'm very involved in Girl Scouts as well. And now I'm really involved on both sides. There are numerous weeks where I spend every single day doing one event or another with Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. So I really have a passion for it, and I really love the fundraising efforts that we do, whether it's sales or FOS. So last year I was asked to take on the FOS family side for Catan, and then this year I stepped up as the finance chair. So I am familiar with the program, and I'm kind of making a few changes in Catan this year and really trying to get things going strong. So I hope I can give you a little bit of insight. And then we do have, my husband is actually going to come do a live FOS presentation at the end for us. He's leading another meeting across the hall right now. But he will be here. So to get started, so this is our Friends of Scouting 2015. We're going to, we've kind of done our welcome. We're going to have, I'm going to go through the presentation, and then we're going to do some presentation feedback. Do an actual FOS presentation for you to see it and take questions and answers at the end. So the first question that we always get, what is FOS? It is our primary fundraising effort for the council. In this, we really try to use a lot of this towards program services to both our youth and adults. So you can see the breakdown here of how our funding comes in. So United Way, we get 18%. Our activity and camping fees, 22%, other revenue, 33%, and direct support, 27%. Like I said, 85% of this we put right back into program services for youth and adults. A big piece of this, of the money, is used towards Loud Thunder. It takes $322,000 to run Loud Thunder during the year. It's about $200 per scout. That's $200 per scout that's using that service, because that's only about 1,600 scouts. We have almost 8,000 in the council. With that money, we provide youth with camp scholarships. We do ensure that the activity and camp costs will remain low. I mean, that's really something we want to do, is keep everything low, and allows us to offer the best programming possible at the camp. So now I really want to talk about the presentation, because that's really why we're here. What makes a good presentation? Being short and to the point. I've actually already gotten feedback this year from some units saying, make sure it's short. Ideally, you want your entire presentation, including giving out cards and taking in cards, to be between 10 and 15 minutes. If you're going longer than that, you're going to lose attention, and people are not going to want to give you money. So really keep it short and sweet. Really try to add a personal touch, and we find that this is very important. If you can personally connect to people, putting in a story, giving an experience you've had with scouting, that your son's had with scouting. For me, I might even pull in my daughter, because even though I'm here with Boy Scouts, scouting in general is a passion for me on both sides. So I'm going to pull in my experiences on both sides, not just one, into that, and make sure people know that. My husband talks about, and you'll hear it later, being from a family of Eagle Scouts. So really, if you can make a personal connection to people there, it really does go a long way to kind of winning them over. Make sure you let people know what that money goes for. In the brochure that everybody will get with the pledge card, it gives that same wheel that I just showed you, that same chart, showing what the money is, where the money comes from for the council, and you have one of these in front of you, and it also shows how we invest in the youth. So right there they can see that 85% of it comes right back to the youth. So make sure you share this, and they can read through this more to see more of what we spend money on. On the back you'll see that more than 1,500 scouts received first aid or CPR training as part of our advancement program, and a lot of other statistics. So they can really see what we're trying to spend some of that money on during the year. how much to give is always a huge question. And this is one that I know a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their brain around. I feel that you should always set a high goal, no matter what that is, whether that's in product sales or whether that's asking for a contribution. So the recommendation from the council is that we ask everyone for $175 because that is the program, that is the fee to put one boy through scouting for a year. So that is the cost for, their son to go through the program. It costs the council that much to fund that one scout. So we ask them to give that. On this, they can see all of the other options. So they're going to see that they have other options, that they don't have to give that much. But by telling them that much, you're setting the bar high. And they're going to, if they can't give that much, they're going to be able to adjust that and know that they don't have to give that much. So again, we say, $175. Really consider putting that into your presentation, trying to sell to everyone that they should give that $175 during the year. And the key to that is emphasizing their payment options. So at the event, they can do a lump sum. They can pay by Visa, MasterCard, Discover, cash, or check, or they can do a pledge. And right on here, they can pledge the exact amount they want, and then it says, please bill my pledge. They can ask for it to be billed once, twice, quarterly, or monthly. So that can really break it down and make it very affordable for them to make that pledge if they do it monthly. So make sure you emphasize that. And I highly suggest securing your pledges before they leave. We want as many of the cards back as possible before they walk out the door. And make sure you give them about 5 minutes to fill out the cards. It's nice to use boys to help with that. Recruit somebody early on to pass out the cards. Some units might go as far as actually to pre-label some cards with all the families. That's a neat idea if you really want to make sure you're hitting all of your members. And then have some blank, because I know in our unit, we have a lot of grandparents that will come and give as well. So make sure you always have extra cards on hand if you choose to do that, or if the unit chooses to do that. You don't have to do that, but make sure everyone at the event gets a card. Like I said, even if it's a grandparent, we've had some great contributions from grandparents, aunts, uncles, other people that are attending. Give them time to fill out the cards, collect them. Are we doing any sort of drawing this year?
We will have a cooler again.
Okay, we will have a cooler again, so all of those pledge cards can be put in a cooler. You can pull one out, and that will be then given as a gift to whatever name you pull out. I highly suggest getting a card from everyone, even those that don't want to give. And I'll actually talk about that in just a minute. So this year we do have some incentives, and I said you do want to mention these incentives to the units, so I'll walk through these. At the 175 level, we have a patch, and this is what number in the series? Do we know?
9?
9 in the series. 9th in the series.
Everybody's doing this.
Yeah. So this is part of a series of patches at the $175 level. We will on occasion have someone give double that and ask for 2 patches so that 2 sons can each get it, or give it 2 different levels. They'll give it a pack and a troop so they can do that. This year, our $250 leadership level, we are adding something new. We're adding a coin. Some people, if they were ever in the military, might know them as challenge coins. So I will pass around 2 coins. We don't have a sample of this yet, but this gives you the image that we're using. But these are 2 that'll give you an idea of weight and an idea of kind of what they'll look like. This year, we do not currently have a $500 recognition level.
Katie, if I can quick add,
Yes.
for the 175 patch, if anybody were to ask, that does feature the clam statue in Hoover District. So we're as we head towards the end of our patch series, we are featuring each district, and they all line up together. With this one, it is Hoover, and it features the clam, what is it, digger? Clam statue in Hoover District.
The clam statue.
So the other important thing to know is your unit goal. And this plays into incentive. Units that complete 3 requirements will receive a $10 per scout discount for Boy Scout summer camp at Loud Thunder, Cub Scout day camp, and Cub Scout resident camp. They have to schedule their presentation by December 31st. They need to have 75% of their families participating or turning in a pledge card by April 15th. That means they can turn in a $0 pledge card. So if they just cannot give for any reason, try to encourage everyone. Put their name in that cooler. Get a card from every single person. And one way to get them to do that, let them know that we will be following up with them. If they have not given a card, somebody will call them, someone will bother them. Sometimes they'll fill it out just so they won't get bothered. That may sound crazy, but it works. So like I said, no thank you on the card counts towards the scope. And they have to raise their goal by April 15th. So as long as they complete those 3 steps, they get $10 off per boy per each of those camps, which can make a tremendous difference to the boy and the unit. So collection, like I said, collect every single card. And then you want to find a quiet place to go count them. You want to, in front of you, you should have a audit sheet. So you have your FOS audit report here. And you're going to fill this out as you count the money. So you're going to have the, already on there, you should be able to have the district should be written in, and your pack number should have been filled in, and your goal. That should have all come to you when you got the report. If it didn't, those are things you should look for when you're getting the report, because you need to know that information. Write down the contributor's name, your name as the worker, the pledge amount and the amount received, and then whether it's a check number or if they paid in cash. And make sure that all goes in the envelope and comes back here to the district executive.
If they pay with a credit card, is that cash or more to go?
You could write credit in there.
Yeah, you put CC in there.
Yeah.
Put CC and we'll check on their card for their number and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just make sure there's a pledge card in there for everything you're putting on here. Thank you. So fill out the audit sheet.
Really quick with the collection, if someone hands you cash, please write on their card, if they have not, that they handed you cash.
Yes.
And sometimes I even write on the bills, because if we get an envelope full of cash and we don't know which thing it goes to, that's a very difficult thing for us. So please mark somewhere that card gave you cash.
And right on it, there's a box to check for cash. So just double check that they've done that. At the end, try to inform your unit coordinator or the Cub Master or Scout Master if they've made their goal. I usually let them know what their number is, regardless of whether they've made their goal. Let them know how short they are or how over they are. It's nice to get that feedback right there at the presentation, because sometimes they want to share that. At least one unit last year nearly tripled their previous year contribution. So that was huge for them, and was very exciting to hear that they had done that. So, definitely put that out there. The excitement builds when you do that. The other thing I want to mention that hasn't been mentioned yet, make sure you're also asking for matching gifts, or at least letting people know that that is something we have. So if their company does matching gifts, and there is a list on the website of some common ones. Some of those include First Farm Credit Services, 3M, Archer Daniels, Bank of America, Bank of the West, Exelon, John Deere, H&I Corporation, Kraft Foods, Merck, JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Monsanto, Pepsi, Sherwin-Williams, Super Value, US Bank, and United Health Group are some of them. We have links on the website to their forms, so they can actually go right there, click on it, it'll take them to what they need to complete for their company, and we get the matching gift. Those matching gifts do count towards their unit goal. We do apply those right back, and it counts towards their unit goal. The other thing I was asked to mention in regards to that is the Dollars for Doers program that some companies have. I know John Deere and Exelon both have programs, and a few other companies do as well. That money does not come in through the FOS program, but still is a vital way of funding, and the FOS presentation is a great way to get information out about it. So that's where, instead of money that you're paying in, you're recording your volunteer hours. It varies by company, what they'll give, and how many hours they require, and even what your tracking standards are. But you can find that out directly from the company. I know, like I said, John Deere and Exelon both have it, and I know there are a few others as well. John Deere gives $1,000 for 40 hours of service, which is very beneficial.
For most people in this room,
That's very easy to do.
given.
No, it's very, very easy. So I highly encourage mentioning those things. The very last thing I have here is kind of something new. In Catan, we are starting a unit coordinator endeavor. So we're actually asking that every unit have someone that is their unit coordinator for the FOS campaign. They can pick whoever they want. It can be their committee chair, it can be their scoutmaster, it can be someone else. If it's someone else, sometimes that's helpful. But we're asking that they establish someone, and we're asking that they help with some of the follow-up afterwards, that they be our primary point of contact in advance, and that they can then help us follow up with those people that we were unable to reach at the presentation. It makes it a little bit more personal if it's someone from the unit, and it takes a little bit of work off of those of us here in this room. Because it takes a lot of time to follow up with people, whether it's phone calls or mailings. So anything we can do to kind of ease that burden a little bit is helpful. And sometimes people relate better to someone they already know. If they weren't able to be there, they may be more likely to give. And they can reach out and say, we're $300 short. Our boys won't get this discount for camp unless we reach that. They have a little bit more of the ability to tug at those strings than we do. It's going to be a little more heartfelt for them. So we do say leave a small stack of pledge cards with the unit coordinator so that they can do that follow-up. So there's one or two things I just want to mention. For Catan, I will be the one that personally sets up the presentation, so I will work with every speaker to figure out what your availability is and connect you with the point of contact for that unit. So normally I send an email with both of you on copy with all of the information for both of you. I'll send phone numbers, email addresses, so that then you can connect. And if for some reason you have trouble connecting, then obviously I'll get involved again. But ideally at that point I'm trying to pass it off and put the ball in your court as the presenter. Our unit coordinators will be getting a packet of information, and I think SOCNOC might kind of do something similar, at least consider this. They'll be getting a packet, a unit coordinator's guide, that's just short and sweet, and it will ask them to actually reach out and contact their speaker to just confirm details. It's asking them to do that about 3 days prior. If in fact they don't do that, please, as the speaker, reach out to them and make sure that you've made that connection. Or if you want to do it prior to that 3 days, feel free. But that's what we're asking them to do, just so we know that there's been a connection. If you want to do it as soon as we have something established, that's great. We already have a number of our presentations, our dates starting to roll in, so we'll be starting to get speakers assigned soon. Well, I think that is most of what I have for training. I do want to kind of ask our previous presenters, anyone that's presented in the past, do you have good feedback to give as a presenter of things that you would do or not do? You'll also see here, I did have the do's and don'ts and the frequently asked questions. I suppose I should mention those as well. For the do's and don'ts, do's, wear your scout uniform and please no jeans. Look very presentable. Let our families know that you're a volunteer. Share your story. Find a way to connect to your audience first thing. Remind the donors that you're not asking for payment tonight, that it's a pledge through the whole calendar year, and that they can pay in any method they feel most comfortable. And tell the families their goal. For do nots, don't take up too much time. Do not apologize for asking for money. That is why you are there. So please do not apologize to them. It's a program that we're proud of, and it's worth supporting. So we really want to let them know that, this is where we need their support. So, don't apologize for the need to do it. Don't undervalue the program, and don't make excuses for why someone wouldn't give. I'm surprised every year by some of who gives and who doesn't. Sometimes it's the people that you do not think have the ability to give will come through with larger donations than you would ever expect. And don't assume how much the families can give based on their neighborhood or school, because again, you might be very surprised. And then frequently asked questions. We often hear, is it tax deductible? Yes, it is. BSA is a nonprofit organization. Is there a minimum donation limit? No, there is not. We do encourage that $175 level, but there is no limit. What methods may I use? And we talked about that earlier. So we do take 3 different credit cards as well as check and cash for billing. How do I make my donation? Ideally at a presentation, they're doing it that night. If they're not there, they can mail the card in if they don't want to give it to someone in the unit. If it's someone that's being followed up with later, if they don't want anyone to know what that amount is, they can mail it directly in to the council, or they can bring it in. Can I donate stock? This comes up on occasion. Yes, they can. Nick Norman has to handle that transaction. All of that goes through him, and they just need to let him know that it would be applied to a specific unit's FOS campaign, and he can do that because they have to value the stock and everything. So, but that's Nick's purview, but can be done. The other big question is, I already give through United Way to the council. Can that be applied to my unit? It cannot. Unfortunately, it's a different pool of funding, and we cannot apply that to the FOS campaign. So that is the very last question on this question and answer sheet. And this will be put on the website. So this will be able to be accessed later. So do any of my speakers have any feedback to give?
Katie, can I ask a question?
Yes.
How many of you guys have done a presentation before? Very good. Jamie, you haven't done one?
Nope.
Oh, wow, okay. So we've got a couple. How many of you, when doing a presentation, since the majority of you have done a presentation, collect the cards, you've done your presentation, you've gotten everyone, you've got the audience capture, you've made the ask, you've asked for that 175 level, you haven't said give what you can, but you said the expectation is that we hope that every family gives $175 tonight to support one scout. After saying all those things, how many of you then stand up there, wait for about 2 or 3 minutes as people fill out their cards, and then collect them before you even take your next seat? I'm just asking, back and forth.
I use the boys.
I don't sit
Yeah.
down.
I make a game of it. I get 3 or 4 boys as I'm finishing up the talk to start and get people to raise their hands.
They
and
put it
have
up in
boys,
the air.
Yeah, hold them up and I let the boys run and get them.
I bring this up, and John DeWitt, I had the pleasure of being able to sit in Sauconach's recruitment. They actually put on a recruitment for new presenters, which was wonderful. And I had the pleasure of sitting there and hearing some different things going back and forth. And I don't think across the council that all of our presenters, and I say across the council, are doing just what I said there. Getting the cards before they take their seat. A lot of presenters will give their spiel, everybody's feeling good, and then they'll say, I'll sit at the back of the room, and before you leave tonight, please drop off your card. It's really important to us. And in my experience, and what I find is when I've done it, because I've done it that way too, they go right, thank you, Judy, they go right out the door. I personally, Andy's not the only one that likes to do this. I like to do it too. It's a challenge every time we go in there. But I personally like to stand up there and use voice. And you've seen Ian talk about that. But I like to, and just to give you an example for what it's worth, I like to keep boys up there with me. And that way now, especially if there's a group of boys that are being disruptive, those are the perfect ones to bring up on stage with you. So now they can't be disruptive. Now you have a quiet audience. So, and I always call them my pit bulls. I call them my pit bulls. And my pit bulls are ready to attack. So parents, I'm going to give you 3 minutes. Now I know you got a pledge card. Now Grandma and Grandpa, do you have one too? Because you are a different family now. Mom has one, grandma and grandpa, oh, aunt and uncle's across the table, aunt and uncle, here's a separate one, you're a different family. We wanna make sure that every family has a card. I'm gonna give you 3 minutes. I'm gonna start the clock in just a minute. Pit bulls, you about ready? All right, they're ready. Now when you get done, you're gonna wave that card in the air, and these pit bulls are gonna come after those cards. Oh, and by the way, I've got this cooler that we're gonna throw this thing into. And now it's important that every one of you fill out a card. Or you're not gonna get a chance to win this cooler. Every one of you. Remember, before we do this, and I start the clock, the expectation is that every family, all three of you, every family is able to do $175 and to support one scout. Ready, go. And I don't move until 3 minutes.
And the boys are great if you also look, and I look at my, I don't call them pit bulls, but I look at my boys, and
Yeah,
it's,
it's-
remember, you wanna get a card from everybody.
Yeah.
And I let them do a little haranguing in the crowd.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Because
they're
it's much
good
harder
at
to
that.
say no to one of them
it is.
than it is to me as a stranger. The other thing I've done with the boys is, as they're first coming up, as we're talking about all these wonderful things, what's the most fun thing you did this year? What's the most fun? So I've got kids from that group who are standing there in front of everybody, reminding them of the value of the program. Beyond whatever we're gonna say, there's that connection with the
Amen.
youth
Yep.
itself to say, this is what I remember, and that'll help. At least I think it helps.
Thank you. No, you're absolutely right about that. So I guess I encourage all of you, I just wanted to hit that home one more time before we moved on. As you're doing your presentations, I'll, like we give those people an expectation to contribute or to pledge $175. And remember, it's about terminology here too. There's a psychology behind it when we ask for money. If we ask for gifts and we ask for donations, you see any money in these pockets? Bob? See any money?
No.
No, that's a receipt.
That's where the money went.
That's what I can give you if you're asking me for a donation or a gift tonight. But if you're asking me for a pledge, now it's a little bit more settling. I can internalize that and I can say, you know what? And then plus I say you have the entire year to do this, by the way. You're pledging tonight, but you have the entire year to take care of this. Boom, we've just captured probably about a 95% return. So consider that. The expectation is that every presenter uses the word pledges, uses the word pledge. They don't give anybody an out. They're asking for that 175 level because our kids deserve for you to ask that and to hold them to that standard. They're gonna make their minds up if they don't wanna do 175. But also, the expectation is that we stand up there and don't have a seat until we collect every card and raffle off that cooler. And I guarantee you, if you have never done this before, you will be changed in the way that you do presentations. And it took someone showing me that too before I changed. So I'd like to just end with that, and we'll go ahead and Katie and let you.
Well,
call on our
I'd
presenter.
like to introduce Tom Rezig, who is going to do our sample FOS presentation. Andy, could we get this down so that we have a better background?
Evening, everybody. So, a lot of you already know who I am, but pretend like I'm walking into a crowd of, packed, I don't know what, and it's my first time seeing you guys. My name is Tom Rezig. I'm the committee chair of PAC 88, and I've been asked to come and talk to you tonight about Friends of Scouting. Okay. Before I get into Friends of Scouting, I want to talk just a little bit about me, my background, why I'm here. Scouting's been a big part of my family since my grandfather was a young man in central Pennsylvania in the 1930s. When he was about 15 years old, his troop had to close down because his scoutmaster got called off to war and nobody else was going to step up to take the job. He was one of 3 brothers, and they were not allowed to continue in scouting after that because, in the words of my great-grandmother, and you'll have to understand this was a different place and a different time, the only other troop in town was run by those Methodists. So they didn't get a chance to finish scouting as young men. When my grandfather grew up, had a family, he made sure that all 4 of his sons had the opportunity to go through scouting, Cub Scouts all the way through Boy Scouts, and all 4 of his sons are Eagles. When my dad grew up and had a family, he made sure that all 3 of his sons had a chance to go through scouting. Cub Scouts all the way through Boy Scouts, and all 3 of his sons are Eagle Scouts. So there are 7 resigs on the list of Eagle Scouts in Troop 152 in Fayetteville, New York, and 3 more in Elmira, New York, plus a Fitch in St. Charles, Illinois. So it's a big part of my family. I grew up listening to the stories that my dad would tell about things that he did, trips that he went on, projects that he worked on. And when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I couldn't wait to have the chance to do some of those things. So when I became old enough, I jumped at the chance, loved every minute of it, and never looked back. My son didn't really have a choice about whether or not he was going to join Scouting. He's a first-year Weeblo Scout in Pack 88, and we'll see how long he wants to stick with it, but he was gonna start. So we are 3rd and 4th generation Scouts and Scouters because of the impact that Scouting has had on our lives. Okay. It's real hard to think of another program that gives you such the range of options of things to experience. And whether it becomes a hobby or it becomes your career, there's so many avenues, so many options for stuff to do through Scouting. Everybody's favorite, the shooting sports, camping and cooking, woodworking, art, architecture, sports. I mean, you name it, there's a way to get involved in it as a youth through Scouting. Okay? So that's me and where I'm from. Now, for tonight, okay, like I said at the beginning, I'm here to talk about Friends of Scouting. What is Friends of Scouting? Okay? Friends of Scouting is the council's way, okay, our local council's way to raise money to help run the programs that your families and your sons enjoy. Everybody pays their membership dues when it's time to recharter, but our council gets little to none of that money. Most of that goes straight off to national. Okay? Our council still has a program to run and it still costs money to do that. So, for example, how many people here have been to Loud Thunder? Camp Loud Thunder? Okay? Great facility, gives you a great chance to experience camping, a lot of those different activities that we've talked about. It costs a lot of money to run Camp Loud Thunder. Okay? For over the course of a year, it's going to cost about $320,000 to run the camp. And after the council factors in all of the registration fees and all the different costs that they take in through the use of the camp, they're still going to run at about an $80,000 shortfall for the year. Friends of Scouting is one of the ways that they bridge that gap. Okay? Without the generosity of families like yours, we would not be able to maintain that camp and use that facility for all these programs that your sons enjoy. So I am here to raise money. Okay, but I don't need to take money from you tonight. I would ask that everybody here consider making a pledge, because for the course of 1 year, for one boy to enjoy the Scouting program costs about $175. Okay? For your son to experience Scouting for 1 year costs about $175. So I'm asking you to consider making a pledge, and you can either, pledge to make that payment in one lump sum. You can do 2 payments over the course of the year. You can do quarterly payments over the course of the year. You can do monthly payments over the course of the year. Okay, think about that number, $175. It seems like a lot, but if you make monthly payments, it's $15 a month. Okay, that's fast food for 2 people. Okay, if you think about it like that, it makes it much more manageable. So, having my assistants up here pass out the pledge cards, I want to make sure that every single family gets a pledge card, and I would like to get a pledge card back from every single family here. Okay, while you're looking at the pledge cards, I'll tell you about some of the incentives that we're offering this year. If you're willing to make a donation or a pledge at that $175 level, you'll receive a shoulder patch. This is one in a series of 12 patches that we offer each year with a different point of the Scout law on it. This year's patch is thrifty. And if you make that pledge of $175, you'll get one of these patches. If you're willing to make a pledge at the $250 level, we'll have a challenge coin for you in addition to the patch. Okay, those are cumulative. This is also part of a 12 coin series, and this year's the first edition of that. So on the coin here, you can see very clearly it says trustworthy. Okay, so $250 level, get the patch and the challenge coin. The other incentive that we're offering is a discount for summer camps. If, there are a couple conditions on this, we're looking for each pack to have at least 75% of their families participating. Okay, participating means turning in a pledge card. Okay, the other part is we want you to meet your goal for your pledge level as an entire unit. And pack, fill in the blanks, goal for this year is $1,500. Okay, $1,500 for your pack. If you got 75% of your families participating and you can meet your goal, all the boys that go to camp will get a 10% discount. Okay? $10. Thank you. $10 discount to go to camp.
10% would be good.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Gotta raise more money.
Okay. I mentioned I'd like to get a pledge card back from every family here. And I mentioned that one of those conditions for that camp discount is that participation. Okay, like I said, participation is turning in a pledge card. If you're not able to make a pledge, fill out the card anyway. It's okay if it says not right now or if there's a 0 on it. But we want you to turn in a card with your name on it so that we know that you thought about it and you made a decision. Okay? And we're going to collect all those cards. I'm going to put them, collect them in this cooler up here and take a drawing from all the cards that have been returned, and the winner gets the cooler. So I'm going to give you a few minutes to think about your pledge, fill out your card, and when you're ready, just hold it up in the air. We'll have somebody come around to collect them. Any questions for me before I let you guys work on your pledge cards? All right, thank you for your time.